Hello.
Hola.
Hola, hola. How's everybody doing? It's Tuesday. So we have... Is that an iPhone?
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Just looks different. So basically we are recording this on two devices at the same time. One is on my device for one of our Curricula Concepts VIP page. And one is on our regular Curricula Concepts page so we can share it. So anyway, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm looking and your phone wins because your phone's so much clearer than my phone.
Yeah.
So just so you know, the newer iPhones definitely...
They're the exact same model.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with mine then?
You have about 1,008 cracks on it.
Listen. Okay, so welcome to Tuesday Conversation.
What's up, Duran?
Yeah, hey Robin. How are you? Listen.
Okay, I know. Go on. Proceed.
Josh always you'll see me going like this because when he talks, he does. And now his leg is kicking. It shakes our little tripod things. So welcome to our conversation with
Josh, Beard, and Bill.
Dollar Bill Murray today. So you may be asking yourself, how many Bill Murray t-shirts does Josh have?
Lots.
He has many versions of Bill Murray. So we'll jump right in today.
Yeah.
I'm going to start. I asked Josh if we could just role play therapist, client, but he's like, eh. So I'll just basically, oh, hi Griffin. Griffin's coming in today.
Hey.
He's wondering what's up. I'll just start here. So this is where we're going to start. We read an article, and it's about a topic right now that's kind of circulating around during this COVID or COVID-19 time or pandemic, and whatever term you're going to use in your life to name it. But here's the response. Here's the post that this was in response to. And we're just going to call this guy Jeremy. And he's like, this is what he posted. He said, if you don't come out of this quarantine with either a new skill, starting what you've been putting off like a new business or more knowledge, you didn't ever lack the time. You lacked the discipline.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy. So I think first, Josh and I talked about it. And what do we need to say about Jeremy?
Well, obviously, he's got a certain idea, and he's a place in his life where making a statement like that isn't, meant to be hurtful or harmful or meant to, elicit guilt or shame or anything like that.
Yeah, we want to assume the best.
Yeah,
I don't think Jeremy was like, I'm going to call all these people out and they're losers if they're not doing this. No, he was like, hey, I want to try to motivate some people and put some ideas and thoughts in their head. So that's a good place to start. But then...
So on the surface, it does sound really kind of good, right? Like, oh yeah, geez. But that's when you're coming from a certain place, right? It's just ridiculous, the statement. Because we are in the middle of a huge, never seen before in our time crisis, right? It's a pandemic worldwide, right? And there's so many things we're worried about. The last thing we need to feel is guilt and shame because I don't have a new skill. I haven't put something off like starting a new business.
And I've got ideas for us now.
Yes. Or coming away with more knowledge. It's coming from a place that doesn't resonate with a lot of people. This comes from a place where if someone has a good job and if their finances are okay, they're not worried about whether or not they can feed their kids, those type of things, then maybe this is something that could be motivational, right? But the message, the way he explains it, is like, if you've not done those things, then you lack discipline, which it's not true.
It's not true at all. I mean, I know I have friends, co-workers who are navigating now not only working from home and being productive and being responsible and having to do things to, educating their kids and worried about that. And there's so much.
Yeah, and we're not teachers, most of us, right? And so all of a sudden we've got this school saying, hey, where's this information? You haven't logged in today. You haven't. And it's like, listen, we're still working a full-time job, and we're still, and we're not teachers, right? We don't know we don't know the education system, but yet, it seems like maybe their focus is, this is what you should be doing, is educating your children, when in fact, some people don't know how. I mean, some of the stuff they teach kids is different from the way we learned. And so anyway, just a statement like that can foster some guilt and shame.
So as a therapist, if I came to you, here's our role playing. If I came to you and I was like, gosh, I'm seeing these statements out there, I'm feeling like I'm less than because I'm not learning a new skill. I'm not. What therapeutic advice or thoughts would you give me to help me navigate this?
So a lot of it would be, of course, how the discussion would proceed would have a lot to do with the person, who they are, what their type of personality they have. But on the face of it, my question would be, well, what is it you think you're lacking? Where in your life, when you read this sort of comment, where do you feel that? Where do you feel less than? And so then oftentimes I'd say, okay, let's talk about what you are doing during this time. And so many times we focus on what we're not doing without recognizing what we are doing. I have people come to me and they're like, oh, I feel this way, and it's so stupid that I feel this way. And then I ask them, I'm like, well, tell me about your life. And they give me all of these like scenarios that just dealing with one of those situations would be really difficult.
Yeah, like working full time, homeschooling 4 kids, trying and worrying about your finances, and a spouse lost a job, or
any one of those things would elicit a lot of stress and just feelings of less than, and then you compound it with everything else, like what we're going through with this pandemic, and it's like, well, of course, you can't do all that. Let's focus on what you are doing and what you think you should be doing differently. And so it would be just kind of like, let's get down to reality. I like to phrase things in terms of behaviors. So if you were doing everything you wanted to do, what would that look like? So if it's like, Josh is so much happier. Okay, well, that's a good thing, right? It identifies that I'm happier. But in terms of behaviors, what would that look like? Would I be waking up earlier? Would I be interacting more? I often ask people, if I was watching a movie and it was called My Wife and I Are Getting Along Better, what would I see? Like, what would I see in this movie that I would be able to say, oh, they are getting along better? And so you have to identify things in terms of behaviors, like what I can actually do. And so oftentimes when you break it down like that, the person's like, it may seem like I have a lot of time, but I actually have tons less because of these extra things. And so I'd say, all right, so you really don't have time for a new skill, or you don't have time to, what was the other thing? Have a new skill or start something that you've been putting off or something. It's just, and so anyway, that's what I would do, is just kind of break down, what are you doing that is good and positive? What are you doing more now than you weren't doing when this pandemic happened?
Yeah.
And just help them see that they're actually doing a lot and they're doing well.
I like that. Focus on the positive in your life, because every situation is different. My situation is not the same as my neighbor's situation or anyone's, and we have to put our own life in perspective and what we're able to do. Guilt
and shame is horrible. Like, I see oftentimes parents try to motivate through guilt and shame. It's just a horrible thing. It does not do what people think it should do. You see it often in religion too. Like, this idea of feeling guilty or shameful for something you did, when that's not what you should feel. If you've done something wrong, there's going to be some sorrow from it. But guilt and shame, I just imagine someone in a corner just balled up thinking, I'm not a good person, I'm not good. And that's never how we are motivated, right? So that kind of a statement, basically, if you don't meet those 3 things that he said, then obviously you lack discipline, and it's just not true. It's just
you don't.
Yeah.
Speak positive to yourself. Speak kind to yourself. Where was that?
It's definitely something you have to get in the habit of doing, because we're in the habit of identifying negative things, right? So if I asked you, make me a list of 10 reasons why you're awesome, and then I said, make me a list of 10 things why you suck, what list usually gets done first? I'll tell you, in therapy, they can maybe name 1 or 2 on that list of why you're awesome, but they'll have 2 pages on why they suck, right? And so we tend to do that. We tend to look at the negative. So the idea is, what do we have to do? There's a psychosocial phenomenon that people find what they're looking for. So what are you looking for? If you're looking for negative in your child, you're going to find it. Mm-hmm. If you're looking for negative in your spouse, you're going to find it. If you're looking for negative in the environment, you're going to find it, because we find what we look for. And so what do we have to do is we have to change what we're looking for. And it's a very difficult thing to do oftentimes. And so every day it's a conscious effort. I'm going to find 3 awesome things about my spouse today, and I'm going to tell her at the end of the night what they were.
Aww.
I'm not going to, because the list is too long.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, but you do that with your kids too. You know, I'm going to find, like, I feel like I'm constantly on my son. Well, maybe you are, so don't be. Like, start identifying things that he's doing really well. And it's very difficult in the beginning. You'll be like, oh my gosh, what? Like, I don't know, he dressed nice today. Mm-hmm. But then you'll start saying, oh no, but the way he talked to his friend was very polite. Oh, you know, I saw this and it was really kind what he did. And so that's what you start noticing. And so
we can teach our kids, if we're starting to switch to talk about our kids a little bit, like teaching them empathy skills by the way we look for things, you know, positive things in them is so important.
Yeah. But we find what we look for, so
we've been experiencing where I think every Sunday we've had to sit down and have a little family check-in before we start the next week and kind of rehash what our expectations are for our son and what's going on. And Josh is good to remind me, hey, remember to compliment the good. Remember to be like, wow, you know, I really appreciate that you followed through with that 1 of 10 things that I asked you to do. Yeah. Or, you know, like, instead of me focusing on the 9 things that he didn't follow through with, I need to be more what's the word?
Cognizant.
Yeah, of just being more complimentary of the one thing. And y'all, that goes for ourselves too. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up over, like, I didn't get all the AMI done that day, or I didn't, you know, just be kind to yourself. Be gracious and patient with yourself. And remember that we have the opportunity to teach ourselves, to teach our family, to teach those that we're around this beautiful thing called empathy. And if we model it for ourselves and model it for others, it's amazing. But y'all, be nice to yourself. Be positive.
Look for the
good. That's Josh's quote of today. Look for the good. So, I think that's all. So don't pay attention to the Jeremies. If you have a Jeremy in your life, maybe you need to, if you start getting pulled into that vortex, maybe that's somebody on social media that you just kind of turn off their notifications and you don't look at them. And, you know, like, protect yourself a little bit. If you find yourself getting pulled into a place that isn't healthy for your mind.
And it does help to assume the good in people.
Yes.
Like, this obviously came from a good place for him.
Yeah.
Because of where he is. It's just advice I don't want you guys to look at and
yeah, we do. We need to assume the best in people. He was trying to be a cheerleader.
Do that thing.
Do you want me to read that?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so this kind of goes along with what we say, but what we're saying. But I read this to Josh earlier. It's called Tips for Teaching Young Children Virtually, but it's just tips in life. So it's like, don't think teaching, because we aren't all teachers. Do think interacting and connecting. Don't think what they can learn, what can they learn, but do think what will bring joy. Don't think how can I fill time, but do think what will be the most meaningful. Quality engagement is more important than the quantity of activities. Children are in the middle of a world crisis, so let's bring a little joy. So if you are in the middle of parenting and navigating something you've never navigated before, really remember, like, you have the opportunity to create the school that you've always thought was important for your kids, which to me, the most important thing at school to be taught is social emotional learning, because if they don't have that, they can't do all the academics. I was just watching something yesterday, and the guy was like, he was at this school and they had the highest like scores of anywhere. They were like the most successful school. And then they talked they talked to one of the school counselors, and she was like, they had a high rate of suicide and they were sending kids to hospitals weekly. And he was like, whoa. So who cares where the scores are? What we should care about is where those kids are and how they feel. And so parents, you have the opportunity to connect and to engage. You have the opportunity to show love and to focus on the good. Is that what your quote was?
Yeah.
Look for the good.
Look for the good. You find what you look for.
You find what you look for. And so use this opportunity, and for yourself, nurture that as well.
Yes.
So, signing out. I think we did this in record time. Have a wonderful week. We always take feedback and any suggestions, anything you want to hear more about from Josh Rout and
Dollar Bill Murray.
I was going to call it Dr. Bill Murray, but he's not Dr. Bill Murray.
He's the doctor of laughter.
He's the doctor of laughter. Okay, thanks, Josh. Bye, everybody.
See ya.